Do you wonder how to handle this particular OCD theme that you have? We're going to talk all about it. Stay tuned. That's what's up next. Hi, my name is Natasha Daniels. I'm a therapist and I make videos for people with anxiety or OCD. And today I want to talk to you about how do you handle OCD? How do you handle this theme that you have going on right now? This particular subtype of OCD that's upsetting you. And I'm going to talk to you about how to handle all of OCD, because I think a lot of times we get stuck on the theme or the name of our OCD and we forget or we don't realize that once you know the framework of how to handle your OCD, it's plug and play. You have a new theme, plug and play. Now you're going to do the exact same thing for this new theme. And I'm going to explain how, just to make it really clear. But before I do that, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit like if you like this video, and hit the bell so you get notified when new videos come out, because they come out every Thursday. All right, let's talk about this. Let me help you. So the framework of handling OCD in general is to, and I'm going to make it very simple, right? We don't want to listen to OCD. And I know this is easier said than done, but I'm going to break it down. So I want to upset OCD. If OCD is going to boss me around and say, do this, I'm going to do the opposite. If that's too hard, I'm going to try to delay what I want to do for OCD. Or I'm going to try to make OCD wait for it. So the most simplistic way to put it is when OCD bosses you around, in general, you want to upset OCD and do something that goes against what OCD wants. And that's going to look different depending on where you are and how much discomfort you have. Because the ultimate goal, no matter what your theme is, whether you have symmetry OCD, contamination OCD, sensory motor OCD, moral OCD, any OCD, right? We have names for these things because it does help. It helps to categorize and say, oh, I have moral OCD, this is what it looks like. Or, oh, I have sensory motor OCD, or I have contamination. It helps to say, this is the type of OCD I have. But OCD doesn't sit in its spot. It doesn't say, oh, okay, this is the assigned seat for me, so I'm going to just sit here in row A1. No, it hops around. It goes to row C, row D, row F. It will give you many different flavors over a lifetime, and that's okay. Don't let that overwhelm you. Don't let that discourage you. Don't let that make you feel hopeless and think, oh my gosh, I just crushed, my scrupulosity OCD, and now I have this thing called sensory motor OCD, or now I have this thing called just right OCD. Don't get hung up on that. OCD is OCD. These subtypes and these names and these themes can help because you can spot it. Oh, that's another just right theme, or oh, that's just another sensory motor theme. It can help. But at the end of the day, OCD is OCD, and how you handle OCD is the same regardless of what theme. And the way you handle it is, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound really simple, and I know that it's not, is you handle the discomfort. OCD is called the doubting disease for a reason, because it makes you doubt, it makes you wonder, it makes you want to control. It says, oh my gosh, what if this happens? Or if you don't do this, you're going to be so uncomfortable. It's not always about a fear. Sometimes OCD is about just pure discomfort. Ew, that grosses me out. Or if I don't do this behavior or action, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. Right? The bottom line is discomfort. And can I sit in discomfort without doing or avoiding what OCD wants? That's the bottom line. And so regardless of what your theme is, what your intrusive thought or feeling is, the end result is to do what OCD doesn't want you to do and sit with the discomfort. Now that's going to look different for each person, like I said. So it might just be delaying, right? Delaying what OCD wants. Oh, OCD wants me to stare at this person. Okay, can I delay that for 5 minutes? Can I delay that for 5 seconds, right? Wherever you are, you start, right? 5 seconds goes into 30 seconds. 30 seconds goes into a minute, right? And so I'm going to try to hold off what OCD wants. Maybe OCD doesn't want me to do something. Maybe OCD wants me to avoid. So OCD might say, you shouldn't really stare at people, right? Keep your eyes down. Don't look anywhere. Or OCD may say, oh, don't touch those handles. Watch out. Use your elbows or use a tissue. Or it might say, ooh, don't look at those bad words or don't look at that person. It will be different for each one of you because you all have different themes and flavors, and that's okay. But if OCD is telling me to avoid something, then I might say, oh, OCD, don't like that when I stare at that person. Well, now I'm going to stare at that person for a little bit just to upset you, right? So, and OCD is very clever. So it might say, okay, you want to stare? Then I'm going to tell you to stare because OCD is not dumb. It will pivot. It will change. So then you say, now you want me to stare? Okay, now I'm not going to stare. You know what? I'm going to just set an alarm on my phone to set a reminder, and every minute, or every 5 minutes or every hour, it's going to ring and I'm going to do the opposite of what you want. It's ringing. And so now I'm going to have to blink 500 times, or I'm going to have to blink because you're telling me that I have to really focus on my blinking. You're just messing with it, right? You're just messing with it. You're doing the opposite of what it wants you to do, and that might change over time. And the other thing is, you're going to purposely do exposures that really upset OCD. And so if OCD says, oh my gosh, don't think about this thing. This is a really terrible thing. And maybe I have a lot of mental compulsions. Mental compulsions are things I have to do in my head to maybe avoid thinking about this thing. Or if I have this thought, then I have to cancel it out and say something else. Whatever it is for you, it's going to be different. And to mess with OCD, I might say, oh, you don't want me to think about this thing? Well, I'm going to get a sticky pad. I'm going to write this thought down and I'm going to stick it around my room. So it's everywhere. I'm not doing it to torture me. I'm doing it to torture OCD. And I'm doing it so that I can say to OCD, look, I can handle discomfort. I can handle discomfort. And so when I can handle discomfort and I do the opposite of what you want me to do, or if that's too hard right now, and that is okay, it takes time. If that's too hard, I'm going to at least make you wait. If you're telling me to go wash my hands, you know what, OCD, you're not the boss of me. I'm going to wait a little while and then I will wash my hands, but I'm going to make you wait. And then tomorrow I might make you wait longer. And then the next day I might make you wait so long that actually you stop bothering me and you get kind of quiet and I think, I don't even have to wash right now. Or you don't want me to touch something? Well, maybe it's too hard for me to touch the thing you don't want me to touch, but I'm going to touch something that touched the thing that you don't want me to touch. Or maybe I'm going to touch something that touched something that touched the thing that you don't want me to touch. It doesn't matter where you start. Just start somewhere and do something to make OCD uncomfortable. So regardless of what your theme is, regardless of what your intrusive thought or feeling is, even if it just doesn't feel right, or even if it's so gross, I'm going to move towards the thing that makes OCD uncomfortable. I'm going to try to do the opposite of what OCD wants, or at least make OCD wait. And that's how I'm going to live my life in two different ways, right? When OCD's barking at me, I'm going to think, how can I mess up with OCD? And also, separate from OCD barking at me, I'm going to plot and plan how to trigger OCD, even when it's quiet, to do exposures. ERP, exposure with response prevention. Response prevention is I'm not going to do a compulsion. I'm going to touch something on purpose. I'm going to eat something on purpose. I'm going to stare at something on purpose. I'm going to mess up something that you've been bothering me about for no reason. You're not even bothering me at this moment, but I'm going to do an exposure. Two things that you do, right? When OCD's bossing you back and it's bossing you around, you think, how can I mess with OCD? Can I delay it? Can I do the opposite? Can I ignore it? Find your entry point of what you're comfortable with and start from there. The other one, which is equally important, is how to mess with OCD when OCD is not even messing with you, to do exposures. So if you could do at least one exposure per day and always pay attention to what OCD is wanting you to do and always try to push back at whatever level you're ready to do, that's all you got. That's the framework. That's the foundation. And when OCD tries to change its disguise and say, ha-ha, I'm just right OCD now, or ha-ha, I'm contamination now, you say, yeah, I don't care what flavor you want to be. I have this framework and I know exactly how I'm going to approach you regardless of what disguise you're in today. Well, I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you find the sparkle in everything you do. I'll talk to you again next Thursday. Take care.